The Witcher, Part 5. Geralt looked out of the palace window for the last time. Dusk was falling rapidly. Beyond the lake, the distant lights of Vizima twinkled. There was a wilderness around the old palace, a strip of no-man's land with which, over 7 years, the town had cut itself off from this dangerous place, leaving nothing but a few ruins, rotten beams, and the remains of a gap-toothed palisade which had obviously not been worth dismantling and moving. As far away as possible, at the opposite end of the settlement, the king had built his new residence. The stout tower of his new palace loomed black in the distance against the darkening blue of the sky. In one of the empty, plundered chambers, the Witcher returned to the dusty table at which he was preparing, calmly and meticulously. He knew he had plenty of time. The Striga would not leave her crypt before midnight. On the table in front of him, he had a small chest with metal fittings. He opened it. Inside, packed tightly in compartments lined with dried grass, stood small vials of dark glass. The Witcher removed 3. From the floor, he picked up an oblong packet, thickly wrapped in sheepskins and fastened with a leather strap. He unwrapped it and pulled out a sword with an elaborate hilt, in a black, shiny scabbard, covered with rows of runic signs and symbols. He drew the blade, which lit up with a pure shine of mirror-like brightness. It was pure silver. Geralt whispered an incantation and drank, one after the other, the contents of 2 vials, placing his left hand on the blade of the sword after each sip. Then, wrapping himself tightly in his black coat, he sat down on the floor. There were no chairs in the chamber or in the rest of the palace. He sat, motionless, his eyes closed. His breathing, at first even, suddenly quickened, became rasping and tense, and then stopped completely. The mixture which helped the Witcher gain full control of his body was chiefly made up of veratrum, stramonium, hawthorn, and spurge. The other ingredients had no name in any human language. For anyone who was not, like Geralt, inured to it from childhood, it would have been lethal poison. The Witcher turned his head abruptly. In the silence, his hearing, sharpened beyond measure, easily picked out a rustle of footsteps through the courtyard overgrown with stinging nettles. It could not be the Striga. The steps were too light. Geralt threw his sword across his back, hid his bundle in the hearth of the ruined chimney place, and, silent as a bat, ran downstairs. It was still light enough in the courtyard for the approaching man to see the Witcher's face. The man, Ostrit, backed away abruptly. An involuntary grimace of terror and repulsion contorted his lips. The Witcher smiled wryly. He knew what he looked like. After drinking a mixture of banewort, monkshood, and eyebright, the face takes on the colour of chalk, and the pupils fill the entire iris. But the mixture enables one to see in the deepest darkness, and this is what Geralt wanted. Ostrit quickly regained control. "You look as if you were already a corpse, Witcher," he said. "From fear, no doubt. Don't be afraid. I bring you reprieve." The Witcher did not reply. "Don't you hear what I say, you Rivian charlatan? You're saved, and rich." Ostrit hefted a sizable purse in his hand and threw it at Geralt's feet. 1,000 orins. Take it, get on your horse, and get out of here." The Rivian still said nothing. "Don't gawp at me." Ostrit raised his voice. "And don't waste my time. I have no intention of standing here until midnight. Don't you understand? I do not wish you to undo the spell. No, you haven't guessed. I'm not in league with Velerad and Segolin. I don't want you to kill her. You're simply to leave. Everything is to stay as it is." The Witcher did not move. He did not want the magnate to realize how fast his movements and reactions now were. It was quickly growing dark, a relief, as even the semi-darkness of dusk was too bright for his dilated pupils. "And why, sir, is everything to remain as it is?" he asked, trying to enunciate each word slowly. "Now that," Ostrit raised his head proudly, "should really be of damn little concern to you." "And what, if I already know?" Go on. It will be easier to remove Foltest from the throne if the Striga frightens the people even more. If the royal madness completely disgusts both magnates and common folk, am I right? I came here by way of Redania and Novigrad. There is much talk there that there are those in Vizima who look to King Vesemir as their saviour and true monarch. But I, Lord Ostrit, do not care about politics, or the successions to thrones, or revolutions in palaces. I am here to accomplish my task. Have you never heard of a sense of responsibility and plain honesty? About professional ethics? Careful to whom you speak, you vagabond! Ostrit yelled furiously, placing his hand on the hilt of his sword. I have had enough of this. I am not accustomed to hold such discussions. Look at you. Ethics, codes of practice, morality. Who are you to talk? A brigand who's barely arrived before he starts murdering men, who bends double to Foltest and behind his back bargains with Velrad like a hired thug. And you dare to turn your nose up at me, you serf. Play at being a knowing one, a magician, you scheming witcher. Begone before I run the flat of my sword across your gob. The Witcher did not stir. He stood calmly. You'd better leave, Lord Ostrit, he said. It's growing dark. Ostrit took a step back, drew his sword in a flash. You asked for this, you sorcerer. I'll kill you. Your tricks won't help you. I carry a turtle stone. Geralt smiled. The reputation of Turtlestone was as mistaken as it was popular. But the Witcher was not going to lose his strength on spells, much less expose his silver sword to contact with Ostrit's blade. He dived under the whirling blade, and with the heel of his hand and his silver-studded cuff, hit him in the temple.